Before I begin my color paper drawing, I'm starting with a few value scales on different colors of paper, just so you can see how the paper can participate in that value scale. So the first thing you'll need to do is decide how light or dark you think your paper is. On our scale of 1 to 10, where would you place it? For this particular paper, it's similar to newsprint actually, and I would place this at about a 2. So that means that 1 is going to be made of white Conté, and in order to go darker I use charcoal, and then I'm using compressed charcoal here for the absolute darkest black, which is a number 10. Now what happens if the paper is a little bit darker? I would say this is approximately a value of 5 on our scale, so that means I'm going to leave the square that's number 5 blank and go lighter and darker from there. One thing that might surprise you here is that we're not going to mix the white Conté and the charcoal at all, so we're not creating a range of grays. We're actually making the paper participate in that value scale by showing through the materials. I've decided to go with line gesture instead of mass gesture. You can do either one, it's totally up to you. And I'm adding all of the highlights. So I've decided to start with Conté instead of charcoal. The reason for that is because if my paper is around the value of 6, that means there's going to be more lighter things and darker things to work on in my drawing. So I can get all of those values of 1 through 5 using the white Conté crayon. And then I'm going to leave anything that looks like a 6 blank. And then I'm going to add charcoal for some of the things that are darker. So right now what I'm doing feels very similar to what I did with black paper. I'm basically pressing a lot harder to get the really bright highlights and then getting to a medium value by showing more of the paper. At some point, once I decide that I'm going to start making things even darker than a value of 6. That's where I'm being really careful and erasing the Conté so I have an area where I can add the charcoal without blending them together. And then notice on that roll on top, it basically goes through most of my value scale. Maybe not the absolute darkest blacks, but you'll see that it goes from 1 to maybe 7 or so. And the paper ends up being one of the values, the 6 on my value scale, and I'm leaving that blank. And then the roll on the bottom left looks like it has a value of 6 on the side, so I'm leaving that blank with just the paper showing. And then on the very bottom it gets a little bit darker, so I'm adding charcoal there. But the important thing is that I'm erasing as I go, so wherever I decide to add some charcoal I'm going to erase. Now if you're starting with lighter paper, you might want to start your whole drawing with charcoal and work on shadows first and then add the highlights at the very end. So it really depends on whether your paper is light or dark to begin with.